Over 3,500 undocumented migrants have been arrested since January 20, when Mr. Trump took office. He has also promised that the U.S. will take action against countries that refuse to accept the deported persons.
My whole life there, even my clothes, I have no clothes. I came here with one little plastic bag with 2 pairs of jeans in it.
56 Jamaicans returned in the first U.S. deportation flight for 2025. Kingston mayor dismisses claims of partisan use of public money.
Black brothers and sisters. Now, we've seen the mass deportation being effected in the US, and Donald Trump is very serious. He's deporting Jamaicans, he's deporting Caribbeans, he's deporting Africans, he's deporting Latinos. So let's watch this video of whatever is happening to Jamaicans and Caribbeans and black people, then have a quick discussion at the end of it. Thank you so much.
Warned Jamaicans who may be deported under the United States immigration crackdown to obey the law or face consequences. He was speaking on Friday amid heightened concerns about the policies under the new President Donald Trump.
This is not the Jamaica that you left 10 or 20 years ago. It is not the JCF that you left 10 or 20 years ago. You will either meet a judge or your maker if you come back to Jamaica and violate our laws and create havoc.
And the Prime Minister said Jamaica has been preparing for U.S. immigration changes and assured that all returning Jamaicans would be welcomed.
It may be a good thing to have some of our Jamaican talent return to our shores to help us to build our country. There are many Jamaicans now who are feeling uncertain in the United States and who are considering returning on their own to avoid the indignity of being deported. And we welcome you back to Jamaica. We want your talent, we want your resources. There are many opportunities in Jamaica that together we can take advantage of and build the country that we would want.
Now, earlier this week, Foreign Affairs Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith confirmed that a routine U.S. deportation flight arrived on Thursday. It was the first of such flights for this year. Some 56 Jamaicans were returned, including ex-convict Courtney Wilson, who is back home for the first time in 33 years. The minister dismissed social media claims of mass deportations as categorically false and urged affected Jamaicans to seek legal advice.
Government has confirmed that a flight which landed in the island this afternoon with Jamaicans deported from the U.S. is not connected with President Donald Trump's recent executive order to enforce a nationwide immigration crackdown.
The flight landed at the Norman Manley International Airport in Kingston. TVJ News has since learned that at least 3 of those who landed today are wanted by local police.
It's been 10 days since U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order to enforce a nationwide immigration crackdown. Already, countries like Colombia and Ecuador have received flights with deported migrants. So, on Thursday, when a flight with deportees landed at the Norman Manley International Airport in Kingston, many began to speculate. But Foreign Affairs Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith says the flight is part of routine bilateral immigration exercises with U.S. authorities.
While new immigration enforcement measures will result in an increased number of Jamaicans being repatriated, there are several processes involved. The government of Jamaica is actively monitoring the situation and will continue our historically close engagement with U.S. authorities. Members of the public may wish to note, for example, that in continuance of regular monthly arrangements previously in train, the first such scheduled flight for 2025 has arrived in Kingston.
Illegal migrants in the U.S. are on edge, so too some Jamaicans locally, who are concerned that an influx of deportees, some of whom may have criminal record, could pose a threat to national security and public safety. The government says the potential threats are being assessed.
Persons subject to deportation fall into different categories. Some individuals have been convicted of very serious criminal offenses, including violent crimes, while others may have breached immigration laws but have otherwise been law-abiding residents engaged in productive employment. From a citizen security perspective, as a government, We are particularly concerned about the potential impact of the anticipated increased return of individuals with serious criminal backgrounds. The National Security Council is therefore rigorously assessing associated risks and is actively engaged in formulating strategies to mitigate potential threats to public safety.
Meanwhile, opposition leader Mark Golding has responded to the U.S. plans to use remittances as a way of curbing illegal immigration. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis wants to require anyone transferring money abroad or remittances to show proof that they are not an undocumented immigrant.
Anything that would jeopardize the right of our people, our nationals, to send funds home to support their families and to invest in Jamaica and do whatever they want to do would be a major concern for us. And I'd expect our government to use whatever good offices are available to it through diplomatic and other channels to try and get President Trump to understand our side of the story and why this would be a very devastating thing for Jamaica, and to ask for him to look elsewhere.
Just 3 days into President Donald Trump's second term, ICE says it has made 538 arrests and detained 373 undocumented immigrants in sanctuary cities across the country. Here in New York, an alleged El Salvadorian MS-13 gang member, a Jamaican citizen facing child pornography charges, and a Honduran citizen convicted of drunk driving. The president's executive orders give federal authorities broad powers to detain and deport. The targets at the moment, though, appear to be suspected criminals, but New York City officials are prepared for anything.
We're in a wait-and-see mode. I mean, we don't know, how broad this is going to impact our folks.
New York's sanctuary city laws forbid city agencies from cooperating in all but criminal cases. The NYPD cannot assist in mass deportations. The fact that a person is present in the United States without lawful authorization is a civil matter, not a crime. Even the council's conservative members support that.
I don't think they're going to just start deporting anybody. They're going to focus on the criminals. Who would be against that?
This is not mass deportation of good people. This is mass deportation of the worst of the worst.
Mayor Adams, for his part, is urging the city's immigrant community to not be afraid.
Children should go to school. Those who need health care should go to hospitals. Those who are involved in any type of interaction where they're victims of a crime, they should speak to the law enforcement agencies. We've maintained that over and over again. And we're going to continue to stand up for all New Yorkers, documented and undocumented.
But some question the mayor's motives and his relationship with President Trump.
The mayor is somehow prohibitive from saying certain things about the new president, so I'm not sure that would happen.
The council speaker went on to say that she has yet to see a plan on how to deal with mass deportations. She adds that she believes the mayor should be more rigorous in his defense of the immigrant community. At City Hall, Stefan Kim, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
The Jamaican government has denied claims on social media that tens of thousands of Jamaicans are set to be immediately deported from the United States under the Donald Trump administration's illegal immigration crackdown. Foreign Minister Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith shot down the rumors on the same day that a flight landed at Norman Manley International Airport with dozens of Jamaicans sent back from the U.S. She insisted that flight was part of a routine bilateral immigration exercise with U.S. authorities.
While new immigration enforcement measures will result in an increased number of Jamaicans being repatriated, there are several processes involved. The government of Jamaica is actively monitoring the situation and will continue our historically close engagement with U.S. authorities. Members of the public may wish to note, for example, that in continuance of regular monthly arrangements previously in train, the first such scheduled flight for 2025 has arrived in Kingston. Persons subject to deportation fall into different categories. Some individuals have been convicted of very serious criminal offenses, including violent crimes, while others may have breached immigration laws but have otherwise been law-abiding residents engaged in productive employment.
Some citizens have voiced concerns of those returning with criminal backgrounds. Minister Johnson-Smith added the government is assessing the potential threats associated with it.
From a citizen security perspective, as a government, we are particularly concerned about the potential impact of the anticipated increased return of individuals with serious criminal backgrounds. The National Security Council is therefore rigorously assessing associated risks and is actively engaged in formulating strategies to mitigate potential threats to public safety.
22 years ago. He's now staying with his sister, who stayed behind in Jamaica. This is the first day in a country he only has grainy memories of.
I've been with my partner about 14 years. I've been with my partner, we have 2 kids back in the UK. I've got my dad, who lives in the UK, and I'm just here.
Do you feel British or Jamaican?
I feel British. I was there from a child. I went to school there. I went to college there. I spent my whole life there. Even my clothes, I have no clothes. I came here with one little plastic bag with 2 pairs of jeans in it. So everything is still in the UK.
Rayan was convicted of burglary 3 years ago and spent 12 months in prison. Since then, he's been fighting his deportation. 2 weeks ago, he was detained, and on Tuesday, his final pleas for mercy fell on deaf ears.
The day of the actual deportation, what happened?
That experience was terrible. I was in a room, I was lying down watching the news. The door flew open, about 10 guys there with shields coming to jump on you, to detain you, to take you. I had to say to them, I'm not resisting, I'm not fighting or anything, it's not necessary.
Rayan is registered disabled. He has a bone disease and inflammatory arthritis that causes him severe pain. He says, though, despite numerous requests, he wasn't able to bring his medication.
I told them I didn't have the medication. Their response, if you didn't have it on you at the time of being detained, then we cannot give it to you. Even if it's life-threatening, we cannot give it to you without getting reports from GP or doctors. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I was panicking so much. My heart started getting pain in my chest. I thought I was going to have a heart attack or something. You know, even on the plane, I was crying. My back was killing me in so much pain, I was crying.
Some people will say you committed a crime, the government has every right to deport you.
I regret what I've done. I hold up my hand and I regret what I've done. I don't think I'm a danger to the public.
And going forward, what are you going to do?
I don't know what I'm going to do, because there's nothing around here to do. There's no work around here or anything. Even finding somewhere to stay, I don't know how long I can stay here. This is not my house, you know? So even all of that, it's like, where am I going to go from here?
Last week, Newsnight reported the leak of a draft review into the Windrush scandal. That review recommended that the government should consider ending all deportation of foreign national offenders where they arrived in the UK as children, say before the age of 13. Alternatively, deportation should only be considered in the most severe cases. The tragedy for Rayan is that if that review were to be implemented as a non-violent offender who arrived in Britain aged 12, it's very unlikely he would have been considered for deportation. Many of Tuesday's deportees are now strung out across Kingston in temporary accommodation supplied to them by a charity. Jamaica may be a holiday destination, but the country has its rough sides. Part of the capital is in a state of emergency, and it has an eye-watering murder rate. It's not a place to be with no money or no support.
So this is your new place, right?
Basically where I'm staying at the moment, you know, until I at least sort out what I'm going through.
Rupert was also on Tuesday's flight and once again has an unmistakably British accent. He says he was released with nothing but the clothes on his back. He has no close family, so he's staying with a charity.
So these are the clothes you came onto the flight with?
Yeah, these are the clothes I literally came on the flight with. So I've got them washed so I can put them back on today.
And whose clothes are these?
The person who I'm staying with. Because I needed to wash my clothes, so I have to put something on while they're being dried.
And those are all the clothes you have?
That's
just these hanging up?
Everything. 1 boxes, 1 pair of socks, a vest, a top, and tracksuit bottoms.
Rupert says he came to the UK when he was 13. He's now 32. In 2016, he was given a custodial sentence after getting into a fight and attacking another man with a wrench. It's his youngest child's birthday today, and he managed to speak to her on the phone.
She says, "Where am I?" Said to her, "Daddy's at college." You know, so when daddy's finished college, I'll be home. Once I finish college, I will have to go back to college again, you know. I can't really tell her, yeah, daddy, I'm not sure if you ever see your dad again or daddy's not in the country. She won't know what that means.
Tell me how you're feeling at the moment.
Numb, hurt, wounded. There's a lot of words to go for, but the one at the moment is just numb. You know, there's no sensation, there's no feeling. It's almost as if someone just took everything about your life from you. You just feel empty. There's no other feeling to put to it, just emptiness. You know, my whole family, wife, partner, kids, mum, brother, sister, niece, nephews, cousins, everyone's abroad.
Some people watching this might say, you don't have a British passport, you committed a violent crime, and the British government has every right to deport you.
Yeah, that's everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Like I said, I've done my crime, I've served my time. If I was a British child, it would have finished at me serving my time. But because I'm Jamaican, it's like I'm serving my sentence 3 times over. Like, you can't judge someone based off one mistake.
Despite the leaked Windrush review, Boris Johnson has made it very clear that he wants these foreign criminals out. But many of the people I've spoken to here don't feel
Just like any other persons in the US, Jamaicans and other Caribbeans are facing deportation. Now, Donald Trump is now effecting the deportation, the mass deportation of illegal immigrants. Now, you might not be illegal, but if you don't have the right documentation to stay in the US, you might be at risk of being deported. Now, we've seen Latinos coming out, crying out that, 61% of us elected Donald Trump, that we elected him thinking that we are going to be safe. But then you are like, oh my goodness, are these not the same people who had Donald Trump saying that he's going to deport immigrants who are illegally in the US? Are these not the same people who are there shouting about MAGA, but they are now crying out after just 2 weeks in power of Donald Trump? Now, I saw some figures. I don't know if they are very correct, and BBC was saying almost 5,000 illegal Jamaicans living in the US are on the list of being deported back to the Caribbean islands. Now, I'm here not to talk about the deportation claims, but I'm here to talk about how we black people are going to make our countries better, in that we don't have to follow the American dream. I once said on my channel that the American dream is a facade, that many people have believed in the American dream, in that everyone around Africa, everyone in the Caribbean wants to go to the US, thinking the moment you step your foot in the US, you are going to be a millionaire or a billionaire. Now, I know many people have been in the US, others successful, others not successful. This is a story of two sides. It is just like when you flip a coin, there is the head and the tail side, that sometimes the two sides might not be so good to the two people. You might have one side of the coin and it might mean not successful. We have brothers and sisters who have moved to the US, but they still live in the streets, homeless, without food, without a job. So it really doesn't mean everyone moving to the US is going to be successful. And this is a wake-up call to all Africans who are watching this video and all Caribbeans who will watch this video. I know our brothers and sisters, the American blacks and the native blacks in the US, they can testify to this, that not every black person in the US is employed, that others are really, really struggling, just like the way you are struggling in Africa and the way someone else is struggling in Jamaica and many other countries like Barbados. So when I say the American dream is a facade, I only mean that not everyone who will move to the US will make it. That instead of moving to the US, you can still make it in your own country. And the start to this is, one, by electing good leaders, by educating the people in your countries that it is not a must we move to the US. It's not a must you apply for the green card, that you can stay in your country and still make it. This is whatever many black people do not believe, that they have to go to Europe, they have to go to the US to make it. That when the systems in your country are working, when we elect good leaders like Ibrahim Traore, when we have good leadership, when we have good governments, we don't have to travel to the Middle East to look for jobs. We don't have to travel to the US to look for jobs. That the jobs will come looking for us in our own countries. That without the corrupt systems we have in Africa, without the ineffectiveness of services in our own African continent, Africa is a very good place to be. It is the interference of the Western countries in Africa that have made us to suffer this much. So the solution cannot be in the US. The solution cannot be in Europe, because they are the same people making our continent look this bad. That the solution is in ourselves. Let's unite. Let's work together. Support those leaders that support Pan-Africanism. Those leaders that support togetherness, the unity of black people. I've seen some leaders talking about the unity of black people, but we have leaders in Africa who are really opposing that, because they know if black people at all will unite, puppets like them won't survive. That when African Americans unite with American blacks, unite with blacks in Europe, unite with Africans in the African continent, that they won't survive anymore. That we are going to speak one language, the language of unity, and these people are going to have it rough on their side. That's why they keep on making sure and sabotaging the efforts of other leaders uniting black people. We've seen African leaders criticizing the likes of Ibrahim Traore, that we can't continue this way by coup d'etats. We can't continue by people taking over from democracy to dictatorship. Now, I want to sit here and believe today that someone must be mentally ill to say that Ibrahim Traore is a dictator. And if you're watching this video thinking Ibrahim Traore is a dictator, then I'm here to explain to you. Now, Ibrahim Traore is changing lives in Burkina Faso. The citizens of Burkina Faso themselves are so happy with their leader. Now, go to countries, other countries in Africa, go to countries like Uganda, where someone like Museveni, who is believed to be a Democrat, has stayed in power for over 39 years. The same person who no one can criticize. If you happen to criticize someone like Museveni, then you are forced into forced disappearance. You are being abducted, tortured, and in some cases, they are found dead. Now, those are your Democrats. Now, in the recent time, someone like Ibrahim Traore came out to say that, you know what, I don't want to be a Democrat. If that is, when someone criticizes you, they have to be forced to disappear. That if someone criticizes your government, if someone criticizes the way you are running corruption in that regime, then they are in for it. Then Ibrahim Traore distances himself, says that I'm not going to be part of Democrats if that's all they do. It's the same Democrats that wanted to shut the media down in the US. It's the same Democrats that we see when we have elections in Africa. They try to shut down the systems so that the Western medias and the Western governments can help them to rig elections in Africa. This is why myself, I've never, and I don't think if I will ever support democracy in Africa. I'll never support Democrats in Africa, because they're the same people who have messed up our countries. When we had someone like John Magufuli, if you don't know about the guy, go Google or go look on YouTube. These guys actually came out and said, I'm not going to work with the West because the problems in Tanzania have been caused by the West, and I do not perhaps sit in my office and in my wild dreams think that the Western countries is going to give me solutions to the problems of this country. Now, he went ahead, denied the Western countries like France, the US, access to his country. He even went ahead to shut some embassies because he said the US, the Tanzanian people are paying a lot of taxes being misused. Now, he reduced his government by 30%. He did so many other things. And he did so many other things without the foreign aid, without having to borrow money from China, from wherever you know. But this person was eliminated. They made sure he was eliminated because he was going against their wishes. The same thing happened in Libya. They eliminated Muammar Gaddafi for standing true to his words that Africa must be liberated, and one way is getting out of Western civilization. Now, here is Ibrahim Traore. I feel like, brothers and sisters, let's support people like Ibrahim Traore. I've seen leaders like Mia Motley. I do not know so much about her, but I feel like we should support those people who stand in for the cause and who are in for the cause. That if we want to liberate ourselves, if we do not want to be deported in the US, first, let's build our own continent. Let's build our own countries. Let's better them by bettering the leadership that we have in our own countries. Thank you so much for having taken your time to watch this video. I know the engagement can be so engaging that you don't have to stop, but I appreciate so much for taking your time to watch the video. If it's the first time, consider subscribing, like, share, and comment below. Thank you so much.